talk about language and culture from an internal perspective, but today we will be looking at Ukrainian language specifically through a completely different lens. What makes a person fall in love with the language that isn't their own? And how can connection grow into something as serious as academic research and advocacy? Today, my guest is Alessia, an Italian PhD student in Ukrainian linguistics who has turned her interest in Slavic languages into a real passion for Ukrainian. In this episode, we will talk about her language learning journey and some fascinating insights this experience has brought her. Alessia, welcome to the podcast. So can you tell how your journey of learning Ukrainian has actually started?
Now I'm a PhD student in Ukrainian linguistics at the University of Palermo. I focus on Ukrainian linguistics, and that is a topic that I like so much. I started to study Slavic languages actually at university because at school we are obliged to study English and French. So if you want to study some complex language, you should start to study at university. But in Italy, we don't have, for example, something that you have, like Ukrainian philology, Spanish philology, and so on and so forth. We have a main big course that is called like foreign languages and literature. And there you must choose one or two languages, depending on that you want to study. And when I had to choose two languages among Spanish, Russian, English, French, and German, I chose Russian at the first because I wanted to study something different, something new from the Romance languages. Because, for example, all my colleagues chose English and Spanish. And I was like, no, I want to try something new, honestly. And I chose also Russian because Russian was the only Slavic language available at my own university. And at first, it was like a challenge, Then I realized that it was quite normal for me studying Slavic languages, and I was getting good results, honestly. And over time, it became a real passion. When I first discovered Ukrainian language, because I've never listened to it, it was 2021, because I was listening to all the Eurovision songs, and there was Shum by Goei, and I was like, okay, I need to be fluent in Ukrainian. Stop Russian, I don't like Russian, basta, stop. I want to be fluent in Ukrainian. After that time, I found out that Ukrainian in Italy was less studied compared to Russian in particular, and also compared to Polish, because I think that Russian and Polish, Russian in particular, is the most studied among the Slavic languages. So I started to be more curious about Ukraine, about its history, about the language. So I started to write my bachelor thesis about the role of Russian language in Ukrainian, and I found out a lot of interesting things, honestly. I found out not only how Russia tried to, in my opinion, destroy your patrimonio, your identity, your language, because of the Russification, the censor that Russia applied to you and to your language. But how Ukraine and Ukrainian language is very rich. And I felt like immediately I felt a connection with Ukraine, with you as a population. And from that time, I think, okay, what I'm doing now with Ukraine was right. So I'm in the right part of my future.
And what level would you say your Ukrainian is at currently?
I'm like B1 plus. I'm trying to studied more for achieve the B2.
And from your perspective as a native Italian speaker, how challenging has it been to learn Ukrainian from 1 to 10?
From 1 to 10, I will say like 5. Because Slavic languages, in my opinion, first of all, quite logical in grammar structure. And I think that once you know one Slavic language well, it becomes easier to understand the other Slavic language. They are like more mutually understandable. So I studied Russian, I studied Ukrainian. So for me to understand, it's easier to understand the other Slavic languages. For example, when I lived in the Czech Republic for my Erasmus in Brno, I understood Czech without problems, maybe, and I even started speaking a little Czech. And the same happened with Bulgarian. So when I was in Bulgaria, I understood only the written, not the spoken one. But I think that they are very, very understandable each other. And in my opinion, the main problem when you are trying to learn Slavic languages in general, but in this specific case, Ukrainian, the Cyrillic alphabet is not the problem. And neither is the case system. Because, for example, if you know Latin, in Latin there were cases, or if you know German, in German there are cases. I think that if you know these languages, it's easier to understand and comprehend this grammar system. But for me personally, is vocabulary the main problem? It's vocabulary because there are some words, for example, that they are very similar, but they have different prefixes, affixes, different forms, and they change in meaning.
You mentioned earlier that you worked on something related to synonyms in Ukrainian. I remember being really surprised, even as a native speaker, when I saw your questionnaire, because I had no idea there were so many synonyms in Ukrainian. So could you tell us more about that research and what did you find out?
I remember that I was at my university. I was sitting in a bench and I was crying because I didn't find a topic for my master's thesis. And then I remembered, wait, in Ukrainian, there are such words like, to say train, there are two words, poїзд, потяг. I started to notice that these words, poїзд and потяг, for example, but there are others, they are used without problems in everyday speech, for example, without depending on the register. And I was like, oh my gosh, why Ukrainian is so rich in lexicon compared, for example, to Italian, because we don't have this big amount of synonyms. So at the first it was like, oh my god, it's quite fun to study synonyms, honestly, because you can understand and notice how rich is your language, and also how, in my opinion, and based on my experience talking with Ukrainians, how language and the choice of a word can be also an instrument to express its own identity, for example. And now in general, Ukrainian language become a symbol of identity in this sense. And I think this is beautiful, in my opinion, because the relationship that you have with your language is very strong, for example. And for me, it's something new. I've never seen a people that is very attached to its own language. And this is beautiful, in my opinion, because of your past. I know, because of the Russification, because of I know all the history, because it's very, very strong, and for me it's beautiful to discover it.
And speaking of your studies, what does your PhD look like in practice? Is it focused purely on linguistics, or do you also explore Ukrainian culture and history?
It's like an independent research, because we go to some seminars, but they are generic. They do not focus on our research topics. For example, if I want to attend some Ukrainian class, I need to do by my own, honestly. So my research it's mine, and it's not just mine independent, it's the researcher. Each researcher has its own research, and we work independently. I focus on synonym, so I worked on lexicology of Ukrainian language, lexicography, morphology of Ukrainian linguists, Ukrainian, and etc., etc. So this is my main topic. And I read a lot of articles that speak about it. Personally, I am also interested in the relationship between Ukrainian people and language, as I said before. And but this is a work that I do by my own.
Let's talk a bit about your learning journey. What methods or habits have helped you the most when it comes to learning Ukrainian?
Yes. So at the first, I tried to watch a lot of videos in Ukrainian. I listen to a lot of Ukrainian music. I set my phone in Ukrainian. I also try to read a lot of Ukrainian text. For example, news about war, about Ukraine in general, and etc. on Telegram. And alongside, obviously, studying grammar, obviously. But what helped me a lot, in my opinion, was speaking with people. Actually, in the beginning, it was very hard to find someone willing to speak Ukrainian with me, especially here in my area, because I think that I'm the only person that studies Ukrainian here in Sicily. It's very difficult to find someone that is able to speak with you Ukrainian. So in a moment of, I don't know, craziness, I decided to write a post on Threads. I wrote a post on Threads. I don't know why I went viral. And a lot of people text me, commented me, they gave me compliments. They were like, oh my God, you are Italian, you are learning Ukrainian, you are amazing, girl, you are amazing, thanks for your support. And this made me so happy to continue my study, to continue my research, to continue everything that I'm doing now. And I noticed how much people were so happy to help me to improve my Ukrainian. And I met lots of new friends, and it was amazing. So in general, conversation speaking practice for me helped me a lot, because I think without speaking, you cannot learn language.
I actually came across this post on Threads as well. Where do you think this strong connection you feel to Ukraine comes from?
Actually, I don't know why I am so much connected with Ukraine. Honestly, it's very hard to explain it, but maybe it can be. First, I was supposed to go to Ukraine for my Erasmus. I was supposed to go to Kharkiv for my Erasmus during my bachelor, but my university canceled my mobility before my departures. Also, Ukrainian people, when I speak to Ukrainians, and they found out that I'm not Ukrainian, I'm Italian, 100% Italian. My blood is Italian. My identity card that is born in Barcellona, Pozzo di Gotto, Sicily. They say, are you Italian? You? And Ukrainian people always tell me, maybe if you're not Ukrainian, in another life, maybe you were. And honestly, I don't, maybe it can be true, I don't know. When the full-scale invasion started, honestly, I feel very, very bad, as Russia attacked my own country. But from that moment, it became very, very important to me to spread knowledge about Ukraine. For example, a lot of people here in Italy, before the full-scale invasion, didn't know where Ukraine is located in the map. Trust me, they didn't know where Ukraine is located. And many still today think that Russia and Ukraine are the same thing, and they speak the same language. And I'm like, are you serious? No. Russian was imposed in Ukraine because of the Russification. You know, Ukrainian language is another thing, is another history. So I feel that this is my mission in the world. People must know more about Ukrainian. People must do the history. So and this is also why I started to study my PhD, because people should know. I remember that I did the interview for my PhD. I thought, okay, they won't admit me, but the professor, the commission, the examinators will know more, something new about Ukraine, because they do not know nothing about Ukraine. So I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to spread knowledge. You should know something new about Ukrainian thanks to me. And so I feel that this is my mission. So when the war started, I'm like, okay, you don't know? Okay, I'm here.
Thank you, Alessia, for sharing your story and genuine passion for Ukrainian language. I think conversations like this are a great reminder that language is more than just a grammar or vocabulary, it's identity. And sometimes it takes an outside perspective to truly see how rich and meaningful it really is. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with someone who might find it interesting. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. You listen to Cultural Codes. Until the next time, stay curious.